Now, after weeks of failing to appear before the courts, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, that is Gilbert Masengeli, has today appeared before Justice Lawrence Mugambi. Now, the justice has already given his judgment in a few, but the courts have taken a 15 minutes break and allowed Mr. Masengeli to present himself before the courts and, of course, answer to the issues that he was summoned to answer a few weeks back. And, of course, we have that and so much more lined up for you this afternoon. After that, a short 15 minutes break, we'll be listening in to that particular proceedings that are currently happening at the Milimani Law Courts. Good afternoon. My name is Abdiaziz. The sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Ann Wangeshi. Now we start off in Tana River County, where Tana River County government is implementing strong strategies to combat sexual gender-based violence, to promote gender equity and create a safe environment for victims. Tana River CEC for Education Abbas Kunyo said that the government is collaborating with non-governmental organizations to provide support services for victims and eliminate GBV. The director of Tana Freak Initiative, Maimuna Mohammed, added that other harmful practices like female genital mutilation and child marriage pose a significant threat to the community's health.
Kuleta washikadau tofauti katika hii kikao ili kuweza kutengeneza sera hiyo ambayo sera hiyo itasaidia wale ambao waathiriwa wa dhulma za kijinsia waweze kujua haki zao, haki iweze kutendeka ya kisheria. Yule mhusika ambaye ameleta athari kama hiyo aweze kuchukuliwa hatua.
Tuliamua kuja na hii sera ya SGBV in Tana River County sababu ya kuna cases za FGM, kuna cases za incest, kuna cases za child marriages, kuna cases za defilement ambazo zinafanyika katika vijiji vyetu, na hii policy itaweza ni survivor centered na itaweza cater for the survivors.
Elsewhere, gender equity advocates are calling for increased participation of women in elective politics. Now, according to Raia Trust Executive Director Oliver Waindi, research shows women leaders, especially those holding governorship positions in the county, have performed exemplary. Now, Waindi made the remarks in Kericho County during a 3-day Gender Champions Workshop. Raia Trust, a non-governmental organization in partnership with the United Nations Women, is currently implementing a project for women inclusion in governance, advocacy and decision-making skills in Kericho, Kajiado, Embu, Wajir, Homa Bay and Samburu counties.
Tuna imani kwamba baada ya kaunti hizi 7 nitatafuta rasilimali pamoja na wenzangu kuhakikisha kwamba tumepata rasilimali ya kutosha ya kufanya uongozi huu uenee katika nchi nzima. Ndoto yetu ni kwamba kufikia mwezi wa 8 mwaka wa 27 tutakuwa na wanawake wengi wezekanavyo kwenye ballot paper. Kwa hiyo tutakuwa na pool ya kutosha ya kuchagua wanawake wengi katika uongozi wa nchi hii.
To education matters, as the digital landscape continues to grow, experts are calling for the rethinking of the education system to better equip a future generation for a technology-driven world. Dr. Christine Nanjala, Dean of Research Innovation and Outreach Division at KCA University, emphasizes the need for the Ministry of Education to integrate emerging technologies into the curricula, starting from the basic education.
Computer literacy.
In a world increasingly driven by digital innovation, voices from academia, law and creative industry converge to highlight both opportunities and challenges.
Say, for example, the ethics of journalism.
Dr. Christine Nanjala, Dean of the Research, Innovation and Outreach Division at KCA University, is calling for a curriculum overhaul to embed technology from the basic level of education, ensuring that future generations are equipped to thrive in this digital age.
Technology is here with us, and the way it is evolving is fast-paced. So the faster we agree that this is with us here now, the better. So the ministry should actually work around the curriculums to institutionalize the use of this emerging technology.
Especially looking at the generations that are digital natives, they don't exist in a world of rules because they have access to so much information. They don't understand limitation in the traditional languages that we understand limitations.
Mwenda Mwikali, a High Court advocate, reiterated the importance of digital literacy, specifically understanding one's right in an environment rife with complexities.
You have the right to access any information that any digital platform holds about you. You have the right to request that, that information be changed or amended according to whatever your wishes are. You have the right to ask any media platform to delete all information that pertains to you.
Martin Githinji, a content creator, noted the government's approach to user-generated content raises critical questions.
You can't license user-generated content. User-generated content is me coming out of my house and just shooting content with my phone. I do not know how I'm going to script that so that I can take it to KFCB so they can say it is approved. Then I go and shoot and then I take it back to them. Then they say, Sawa, you can go and post. It is not possible, you know. So when somebody is trying to come up with policies or licenses for user-generated content, they are limiting the same opportunities they are saying they are creating for these young people.
Paulina Simiu for Lunchtime News.
Stakeholders in the health sector are urging the East African regional governments to collaborate in building resilient health systems amid a growing threat of the Mpox virus. Speaking in Nairobi County on Thursday, the health experts also challenged African states to review the effectiveness of investments to counter global health threats.
As Kenya and other regional states continue to grapple with the emerging Mpox virus, health experts are emphasizing the need for cooperation in averting a regional health crisis. Stakeholders have further called for a response that transcends borders in averting health shocks.
I think there's a common saying that says, I am not safe until you are safe. So Kenya is not safe until Comoros is safe. So if you think about that, then we need to have a united front so that we strengthen these partnerships to enhance the sharing of knowledge, sharing of resources, and also best practice, and to help building a more resilient health systems.
According to the Acting Director General of the National Public Health Institute, Dr. Kamene Kimenye, the government is keen on investing in necessary initiatives aimed at cushioning Kenyans against any emerging threats.
If today we were attacked by any new disease, Mpox is here, and maybe assume Mpox was as bad as COVID was or even worse, would we say the investment that we made during COVID can sustain us or has made an impact in our health systems?
She spoke during the launch of East Africa Regional Global Health Security Summit set to be held in Kilifi. The summit, to be attended by health experts and policymakers from across 14 African Centers for Disease Control state members, will discuss pandemic preparedness and response, bioterrorism, insecurity, and global health equity, among other issues.
And the whole goal is for us to basically be able to reflect on the COVID-19 pandemic. Coincidentally, as we are doing this, now we have Mpox in the country, and I know that is a conversation which is going on, but also a real threat.
East Africa is primed and positioned to be a global leader in health security and in establishing systems to defend against future emerging infectious disease, potential pandemic, and other health emergency threats.
Joseph Ohungu for Prime Edition.
Now, Narok County Governor, that is Patrick Ole Ntutu, has been ranked as the best performing governor with a 78.6% approval rating in the latest polls by Polytrack. The study, dubbed a First-Time Governor's Popularity Rating 2024, covered 28 counties and sampled 5,800 respondents. Governors were rated on performance satisfaction, proportion of their own source revenue, and compliance with the county planning as per the County Governments Act, among among others. Ntutu is followed closely by Kakamega's Fernandes Baraza with a 75.4% approval rating and Uasin Gishu's Dr. Jonathan B at 72.1%. Nakuru County Governor, that is Susan Kihika, got the least approval rating at 37.3%.
Study revolved around 6 thematic areas, which are governance, performance, satisfaction, the proportion of own source revenue, implementation, execution, and transparency of automated revenue collection systems, public participation, compliance with county planning as per the County Government Act of 2012.
Now to the lakeside, to the coastal city, a section of women in Mombasa County is calling on the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate their women representative, that is Zamzam Mohammed, over impropriety and disrepute. They claim that the women rep is disrespectful to other elected leaders, sacks employees at will, issues bursaries to non-residents of Mombasa County, and nepotism. The protesting women marched from the Makupa roundabout towards the women representative's office in Chuda area, Mvita constituency. In a rejoinder, Mohammed dismissed the allegation, saying it is a political witch hunt.
Sisi tunasikitika sana kupata kiongozi wa kike ambaye hana heshima ndani ya jimbo hili. Kiongozi ambaye matamshi yake hayapendezi wananchi wa Mombasa. Swala la kwanza ni kumtukana rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, kumtukana deputy president na pia kutuma watu wamtukane gavana wa jimbo la Mombasa. Swala lingine ni unyanyasaji wa wafanyikazi wake. Sisi tunataka wafanyikazi katika ile ofisi watuoneshe contract yao iko wapi. Yule mama anaajiri watu, anakuambia tu uandike tarehe ya kuingia kazini, lakini tarehe ya kutoka anajua mwenyewe. Watu wanafutwa katika ile ofisi kiolela ulela bila makosa. Issue nyingine ni swala, sisi tulipigia women rep kura, hatukupigia deputy women rep, manake hakuna hiyo position.
KBC anti-corruption, twaomba mchunguze ofisi ya mama Zamzam. Corruption imezidi ndani ya ofisi yake. Ameandika shemegi yake, ameandika bwanake, ameandika dadake, nafasi za watu wafuta kazi mishahara akichukua yeye.
To security matters now, Kenya National Private Security Workers Union Secretary General Isaac Ndambwa has opposed the proposed monthly deduction of 150 shillings to the central organization trade union KOTU. Ndambwa, who is now asking the management of the private security companies not to effect the deductions further, noted that the private security guards currently remit 50 shillings to the union, and an increase in the deduction will put a strain in their salaries. Ndambwa has also implored on the KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli to equally decline the said proposal, this even as they call for the implementation of the minimum wage bill.
Kwa katibu Atwoli, hiyo mbinu ama hiyo barabara KK imechukua, sisi kama Union ya Kenya National tunasema hatutakubaliana naye. Tumesema hatutakubali KK ikata shilingi 150 na industry yote wanalipa shilingi 50.
To politics, members of Nyandarua County Assembly are accusing a section of leaders from Mount Kenya region of trying to create a division among locals. The ward representatives who say they back the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as the region's spokesperson said it was unfortunate that some leaders who harbor some selfish ambitions want to use the region for their selfish gains. They said the leaders should focus on serving the people instead of engaging in Mount Kenya politics.
As the MCAs of Nyandarua, we would like to condemn in the strongest terms possible the meeting held in Murang'a yesterday, where it was convened as a regional council of governors meeting to discuss the development agenda of Mount Kenya region. But was turned into a contest who is senior in the region or not.
And of course, our top focus this afternoon will be at the corridors of the justice, where of course the DIG, that is Masengeli, will be appearing before the courts again after he got a breakthrough. He was told to answer to some of the questions that were brought forth before the court. Once the court resumes, we'll be taking you there live. Now, still on other news, 5 robbery suspects are in custody at the Kabarnet police station in Baringo County after they were arrested in 2 separate security operations. Baringo County Police Commander Julius Kiragu said 2 of the suspects were found with multiple stolen number plates and TV screens suspected to have been stolen from the Mumol area of Kabarnet town. 2 other suspects from Kituro in Baringo Central were apprehended in Mogotio armed with a pistol loaded with 2 rounds of ammunition. Another suspect is in the intensive care unit at the Kabarnet Hospital under tight security after being beaten by residents while attempting to flee.
Na wizi hapa ya kufunja manyumba na kuiba electronics. Na juzi tuliweza kufaulu kupata hawa wahalifu ambaye tumeweza kudisplay hapa. Tulikimbizana nao all the way mpaka Keio South, wakaabandon hiyo gari na kutoroka. Lakini through members of the public tuliweza kusaidika na kupata hao watatu hawa ambaye tuko nao hapa sahi. Mmoja aliweza kupigwa na wananchi na kwa saizi yako hospitali. Tunaendelea kumchunga hospitali ndio tuweze apone, ndio tuweze kumshika na kumpeleka kotini ndio waweze kustakiwa.
It is 14 minutes past the hour. Our keen focus is at the Milimani Law Courts. Once the court resume, we'll be heading over there live. So don't go too far, and still more to come.
Mtu akikanyaga mkia wa simba marara kwa makusudi, matokeo yake ni gani?
Mzee, usizungumze hivyo.
Unapomkanga pweza, ujue niko chini ya gari.
Wajua ni kwa nini mimi namkanga pweza na wewe ukiwa chini ya gari? Ni kwa sababu mchovu halali kitanda cha mbali.
Toka hapa! Na si nimekulipa. Nijaribie tu hata mimi niweze kwenda shuleni kama wenzangu.
Oh my goodness, I just love you for free. I'm not the girl who lies. Nick is gone.
Kuna kitu Alice ameniambia.
Alice.
Too much pressure, madam. Hata sijui nifanye nini.
What is this?
Read it.
We're not losing this, Dad.
Ruth is here and she's breathing fire. JJ is suing Kaikara and I'm not in the picture.
If you're here to threaten me, don't bother. It will not work.
Umri wangu hauniruhusu kucheza mchezo ya kishenzi kama hiyo.
You're behaving like a child.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, a section of parents from Muthaiga Primary and Junior Secondary School held a peaceful demonstration earlier today over what they claim is leadership and governance challenges in the school under the current head teacher. While addressing the media earlier today, the parents said the situation has resulted from embezzlement of funds, calling for swift intervention by the Ministry of Education. Efforts to contact the school administration regarding the issue were futile.
All these things that we are raising have been documented and written to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, and the letter was received there in July of 2024, and unfortunately up to date There has been no response to the board regarding this.
We are appealing to the TSC and to the MOE and to the county government, sub-county government, so that they can hear our plea and hear the plea of our kids indirectly. As parents, we are concerned because the BOM that should take 3 years in office has been dismantled, and we have evidence to show that. We fear that the finances of the school are at risk of loss.
Kenyan youths are calling for more involvement and inclusion in funding and strategies that are aimed at combating climate change in the country. The youth who led a peaceful protest in Kilifi County say that issues of climate need meaningful participation of the youth in decision-making if the agenda is to be successful in the country. The young protesters maintained that they will continue pushing the agenda through meetings and networks until their concerns are addressed.
Countries are increasingly adopting the concept of a just transition to guide their shift towards greener and more sustainable economies. A just transition ensures that the cost of moving to a greener economy are not disproportionately borne by the poorest and the most vulnerable population.
And this comes in terms of us imagining that every intervention, however small, will be significant in contributing to the bigger picture, and nobody should be left behind in this concept.
Involvement and participation of that grassroots woman. Allow her to come into this table and let her speak in Luo, let her speak in Kamba, let her speak in Nandi, and we hear what she has to say, because she has an answer to the things that are affecting her.
Although Kenya is making strides towards a low-carbon economy, socio-economic challenges persist, particularly for the vulnerable communities. Environmentalists are calling for stronger multi-stakeholder engagement, inclusive governance, targeted climate-smart initiatives, and sufficient financing to ensure a just and equitable transition.
We see nature-based solutions as one way of actually helping to climate-proof our infrastructure. And we are actually doing a cost-benefit analysis. We are doing damage assessments and actually providing dollar sums so that these can be factored.
About 60% is from domestic sources. Then about 40% globally is estimated to be needed from external finance, international sources. Of course, there needs to be reform. The finance that we have in the world is neither enough nor high enough quality.
They emphasized the importance of embracing innovative climate-smart agriculture practices, noting that transitioning to resilient and regenerative agriculture is key to reducing vulnerabilities and addressing existing inequalities.
We need innovations in terms of systems, social systems, the economic systems. All of these need to kind of be revisited and revised to ensure that we have equity, to ensure that we have inclusivity.
To achieve net zero emissions by 2050, investment amounting to $594 billion are needed. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Still on climate matters, volunteer waste collectors within the informal settlements in Kisumu want the government to devise a mechanism of sensitizing Kenyans, especially those living in formal areas, on the need for proper waste disposal. While participating in the World Cleanup Day in the informal Nyawita area, the environmental conservationist pointed out the need for waste segregation at the source, arguing it is the only effective, sustainable way to rid the environment of litter.
Environmental conservation is one of the key areas and key points of making ourselves more secure in terms of health. And we want to start it from the household levels, where we want to collaborate with the landlords, caretakers of different premises, so that they can work with their tenants to make sure that the way they dispose their waste is really in line with channels of making our waste not spreaded all over in the community.
We want to sensitize the community because we have policies that the government are putting forward, but they cannot have the information. So today we were feeling to give the information through the cleanup day, and also this will help us to educate households on how they can separate their waste.
Tumeambiwa kuhusu takataka. Hii takataka ni pesa. Kama hii like this pampers. Kama niko na smart farming yangu, hii pampers kama naweza tu ichukua pamoja, niende niiweke kwa skuma yangu. Ina hold water kwa skuma. Na kuwa na mboga 24/7. Then hata hii waste, kitchen waste, inanisaidia kuweka BSF. Hiyo bado ni pesa.
Kwa vijana kitu naweza waambia ni kwamba saa hii hakuna job. Hakuna job, na hii ndo vitu zenye zinaweza tufungulia njia kupata jobs.
Moving on swiftly, children rights lobby group Save the Children International has partnered with Beacon Teachers Africa to train children on abuse prevention skills and reporting. According to the Save the Children International project coordinator, that is Velenila Gitau, gaps that exist in child abuse prevention, such as the lack of deep understanding of their rights, need to be addressed, adding that cases of abuse of children, including physical, emotional or sexual, have been on the rise. Her sentiments were echoed by the founder of Beacon Teachers Africa, Dr. Joan Mwende, who reiterated the importance of empowering children.
Children or other people in the community can abuse them. They also need to understand or to know the tools they can use to protect themselves.
Embu being one of the county that we are implementing, we felt there's need to address the gaps that are affecting children, matters of child protection, child abuses, and that's why we are here to sensitize children, create that awareness, and still also be able to have children speak.
Kilifi County has established an elderly person steering committee to combat abuse and enhance rights of the elderly in the society. The initiative has seen the county and national governments partner with state and non-state actors to safeguard the interest and welfare of the elderly persons in the county. The county has reported several instances of killings and harassment for the elderly. Kilifi County becomes the first in the country to establish an elderly persons committee.
Sio kwa kuwatunza wazee, lakini kwa kuua wazee. Hilo ni kama sisi tumelifurahia, tumenyamaza, kwa sababu kila siku mzee anapouawa hakuna mtu anasema chochote. Na nikasema hapana, lazima haya yaweze kufanya nini kufika mwisho.
Tumeamua tuje pamoja ili miswada yote ambayo itakuwa inapitishwa katika county assembly kuhusu wazee na kuhusu National Assembly, kama sisi kama kamati tutakuwa tunahusika na kuhakikisha kwamba inapitishwa ili kurahisisha maisha ya wazee kuishi bila tatizo lolote.
Elsewhere, the national government has been conducting high-level meetings in a bid to find a lasting solution to the perennial cases of insecurity along the border between Kitui and Tana River counties. In a forum that brought together 3 county commissioners from Kitui, Tana River and Garissa counties that was held in Mwingi town in Kitui County, the county commissioners urged communities living along the border to always seek amicable dispute resolution mechanisms instead of violence.
The meet with Tana counties, Garissa, Tana River, Taraganiti, Meru, Kitui. This is an area which has a lot of conflict issues in respect to pasture, water, and even peace and security.
We are coming up with a workable arrangement, both the NDMA, who are the team leaders here, as well as the security agencies of all these 5 counties. to ensure that our communities live together harmoniously.
The government has been urged to factor in women living with disabilities when coming up with area-specific policies touching on climate change. In a forum organized by the Inclusive Climate Change Adaptation for a Sustainable Africa organization, women with disabilities decried the heavy burden of surviving in times of climate-related disasters.
Forum organized by the Inclusive Climate Change Adoption for a Sustainable Africa ICASA and other stakeholders in East Africa aimed at empowering indigenous, marginalized and minority women with disabilities to lead in climate action. Women with disabilities lamented the many hurdles they face in terms of climate-related disasters.
When they were talking about issues on green energy, and they made recommendations for women just to change from the charcoal and use green energy. Did somebody ever consider that green energy is very expensive and not affordable to the women with disabilities?
The mobility challenges in terms of evacuation and the high cost of mobility equipment further compounded the situation.
Road infrastructures do not consider how people with disability are protected, especially in very bad climate hazards like flooding.
Women with disability are limited in terms of saving themselves, in terms of escaping. So we've realized that there is a challenge with infrastructure. What we have right now is not sufficient enough to allow them to face the climate disasters that are increasing by day.
They want collaborative efforts among all stakeholders in the community to elevate the adverse effects of such disasters on people living with disabilities in the country, especially women.
And if we don't design actions that target these different types of impairments, we end up only ticking the box but not actually addressing the reason why we want the people with disability to be included.
Let us be there from the implementation to from the policy making to the implementation, and when it comes to even monitoring, just to see what has worked well for women with disabilities.
They at the same time decried inadequate representation in the leadership structure of the country, which they said has hampered them from voicing their grievances.
We need to have the voice of women with disabilities so that they also can give out what works well for them.
They would like to be part of the decision making, but at times where the meetings are held to make these decisions, where the meetings are held to design the interventions, they are not able to get there.
John Kahiro, Lunchtime News.
Now welcome to the world of business. Now smallholder farmers have been encouraged to aggregate their produce and increase value addition to minimize post-harvest losses. International Center for Agriculture Research in the Dry Areas Country Manager Abdiaziz says the aggregation will also assist farmers enjoy economies of scale and acquire climate change mitigation equipment.
Smallholder farmers in the counties of Kisumu and Vihiga are diversifying their agricultural activities to mitigate effects of climate change. The farmers are now into value-adding cassava, vegetables and grains in a bid to reduce post-harvest losses.
The reason why we needed these machines, like sorghum gives people headache to handle, because when you get it from the farm, you want to dry it, you want to thresh, you'll just beat it with, we were beating with some logs, a heavy one, so that it can remove all the seeds from its cob. Then you'll beat it like that. Now we have the machine. You just pour your sorghum there, within a minute, one sack is over.
The farmers have been encouraged to not only aggregate their produce to get good prices for their crop, but also form groups to acquire value addition equipment.
From a small-scale farmer, after harvesting, the only option for making a markup, for making a profit on the farm produce is through value addition.
We want to build this entrepreneurship in farmers. We cannot expect farmers to
grow food with nature if that is detrimental to their livelihood, to their income, and therefore to their family, children.
Through financing from Alliance of Biodiversity and International Center for Tropical Agriculture, the farmers have acquired a climate-smart seed bank to preserve more nutritious indigenous crops.
If a farmer have got a community of plants belonging to the same species, they like the characteristics of that. To maintain and keep on using that, they need to produce seed.
Farmers have been advised to amalgamate their land to enhance agriculture mechanization and reduce cost of food production. Benson Rioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Now further afield, the remains of the Turkana boy were among the showpieces on display at the Burgerfest held in Berlin as Kenya intensified her tourism marketing campaign that highlighted the rich culture and heritage in the country. Now Culture Principal Secretary Umi Bashir says the reference to the Kenya as the cradle of mankind has so far earned the country recognition from a niche sector of travelers keen on archaeology, history and culture.
Kenya capitalized on being the only non-European country participating in the citizen festival dubbed Burgerfest to showcase the country's rich heritage. One could not miss the song, dance and art that were on display. The long queues for a taste of nyama choma were among highlights of the festival.
I've been traveling to Kenya so many times. It's a real nice country. You can do a lot of interesting adventures, safaris. You see so many animals. Kenyans in general are very friendly and very jovial. There's a lot of fun when you go there. And I've actually convinced some of my friends to come and visit this country and they have liked it. So I will be going there again in 2 weeks from now. And I'm usually up country in Nakuru.
It was very, very impressive. And I invite everybody, of course, to join Kenya, the beautiful country, also the beautiful wildlife. I've been there also 3 times. It's very lovely and I invite everybody to enjoy Kenya.
Among the display was the remains of the Turkana boy and curators on the ready to regale visitors on the importance of the archaeological find.
They need a cultural center here in Berlin so that whenever you're here and you're here for work, you can always walk into that center and you look at your heritage. You remind yourself what your cultures are and dance to our music. So what we're doing is working in conjunction with the State Department for Diaspora, MFA and Tourism so that we can see how we can come up with products to encourage our people not to leave their cultures, to have a sense of belonging and always feel at home wherever they are.
Kenya, which has attracted 2 million tourists, targets to net 3 million tourists this year.
We don't lack what to see in Kenya, right? We have all the wild animals you can think about. We have all the oceans you can think about, all the lakes you can think about. We also have historical sites, very unique historical sites across the country, which we have. But above all, we also have our rich cultural heritage.
Regina Manyara reporting for Lunchtime News.
And before we continue with the day's business story, I want to take you live to our top story this afternoon that is currently unfolding at the corridors of justice. As you can see, those are live images from the Milimani Law Courts. Let's listen into the proceedings that are currently ongoing.
Where were you on the 26th of August 2021?
My lord, on that particular day I was in Coast Province. I was in Mombasa, Lamu, and Boni Enclave, my lord.
Okay. Now, look at paragraph 18. You are supposed to appear in court on the 29th of August, 2024, paragraph 18.
Yes, my lord.
Can you tell the court where you are on the 29th of August, 2024?
I was at Mpegetoni and the Boni Enclave as at large, those areas of Uluko, my lord.
Okay. On the 3rd of September 2024, that's on paragraph 19, did you send a representative to court?
Yes, my lord.
Who did you send?
My representative, my legal, Mr. Otiende, my lord.
Okay. And where were you on the 3rd of September 2024?
On that very day, my lord, I was still on those borders of Kenya-Somalia border, the Shakani and Boni Enclave.
Okay. Let's go to paragraph 21. Where were you on the 4th of September 2024?
On this particular day, my lord, I was en route to the northern Kenya, part of Kenya, my lord.
Then you were supposed to attend court on the 5th of September 2024. That's paragraph 22. Where were you on the 5th of September 2024?
On this particular date, my lord, I was in Mandera, that's northeastern region, and I had also sent my director legal, Mr. Otiende, to send me, my lord.
Now, on the 9th of September, you were supposed to be in court personally. Can you tell this court where you are? Paragraph 24.
My lord, still on this date, I was still in northeastern and particularly in Wajir, those areas of Uluko, Korfaran, and Kontoni, my lord.
Uluko?
Uluko, Korfaran, Konto, Korfaran, Korfaran, Konto, and Karsa.
My lord, may I proceed? Paragraphs, we're referring to paragraphs 24 and 25. Yes, but he was meant to be in court, my lord. Yes, he's on oath and he was meant to be in court.
Karsa, my lord. Those are FOBs, the forward operating bases for the officers in the northeastern, my lord.
Okay. Then you were sentenced on the 13th of September when you were meant to be in court. Can you indicate to the court where you are then? On the 13th of September 2024?
On that very day, my lord, I was still on my way now downwards because from Wajir we had to come back to those sides of Garissa, and in Garissa we had to traverse to those forward operating bases of our officers like in Wilmerel and Fafi, my lord.
Now, was your failure to come to court deliberate or a deliberate act of lack of respect for the court?
My lord, it was not a deliberate failure because I had also requested my assistant to come and represent me and the legal officer to do the same.
Now, this petition relates to missing persons who are petitioner number 2, 3, and 4. Bob Njagi, Jamil Longton, and Aslam Longton.
Yes, my lord.
Have they been in police custody at all?
My lord, they have not been in police custody, and I just learned this morning from Repo Harvey that they've been found, my lord.
So you learned from who that they've been found?
Assistant retired. The minister's
Is that honorable? We were trying he attempted.
He attempted. I learned from the Emirates LSK president.
My lord, is it honorable? I don't know why you are.
Been found. I learned that those people have been found from Habib, my lord, this morning.
And how did you learn? Where did he say it?
He said it before this court, my lord.
Okay. Did he describe the condition in which they are?
I did not get it clear, my lord.
Okay. So, now that we are here, sorry, my lord. Yes. Yes.
Hello, I will cross-examine. Yes, it's true. I stated in court that their report had been released. The report was made by the president of the law society of Kenya. It should alarm everybody that the president of the law society of Kenya knows that these people are released. And the IG custody.
She heard that.
My lord, perhaps you can also tell the court the condition in which they were. Thank you, my lord.
As soon as we finish our cross-examining.
Now that we are in this situation, what would you like to tell the court?
My lord, I want to thank you for the opportunity of holding that before you. Before I say anything, my lord, I would like to apologize to the lordship and the judiciary for the events that have transpired, leading to the orders of this court. My lord, I respect you and all our gods for the good work that you do to uphold the rule of law. As a police officer, it is my duty to enforce court orders and ensure that court orders are obeyed. I pray, my lord, that this court accepts my apology, vacates conviction and sentence. So I pray, my Lord.
That's all, my Lord. My Lord, I was asked to hold Mr. Kiara's brief for the 5th. No, I just want to be on record. I'm holding Mr. Kiara's brief for the 5th respondent.
We are satisfied. We are satisfied, I think. I don't think there is any questions from our side. We are satisfied. Yep.
Correct. Shadrach Mosema.
My Lord, I will take less than 5. Let this to be the rest of the time. My IG.
My Lord, say.
These 3 Kenyans, Bob Misheni Jagi, Jamil Longton, and Asma Longton. Do you know them?
I don't know them, my Lord.
When did you come to hear of him?
I had them when it was reported in the Kela, and the signal was circulated by the OCS to all OCS in Kenya of the missing person, my Lord.
How long ago was that?
The date you've mentioned, my Lord.
Pardon?
The date you've just mentioned, my Lord.
No.
That was on the 19th August, my Lord.
19th of August.
Yes,
Thereabout, isn't it?
Yes, my Lord.
Between 19th of August and today, how many days are those?
Around 1 month, my Lord.
Around 1 month. What efforts, if any, have been made by the National Police Service to trace these 3?
My Lord, immediately it was reported. The signal was sent throughout the country to all OCS. The investigation was opened and started immediately and still is live. The investigation is on. Just we appealed to the public also to assist us on where they could be found, my Lord.
Do you have any report, preliminary or final, insofar as those investigations are concerned?
Come again, my Lord.
Do you have any report, preliminary or final, insofar as the investigations are concerned?
What I know, my Lord, is that the investigation is still on and they've not been found as this morning when I was coming to this court, my Lord.
When did you wake up this morning?
A bit early, my Lord. It was at 0.
Okay. So when did you set off to come to this court this morning?
My Lord, I came to this court very early because I was supposed to start at 9 and by 8 I was here, my Lord.
No, Master Angeli. I can speak in Kibukusu if you want to. My question is, when did you set off to come to court?
Set off from where, my Lord?
Wherever you are.
At 0800, I set off from my office, headed to Mimani Courts, my Lord.
By then, had you received any briefings insofar as these 3 are concerned?
My Lord, I received the briefings that they had not yet been found. That was the brief that I had received because there was no new brief that I had gotten from the weekend. But if there has been from here, I'll go and confirm from our police stations and it has been made my Lord.
So if that be the case, it is your confirmation that you have not complied with the habeas corpus order to produce this.
My Lord, we did not have them in our custody, my Lord.
No, listen. Don't answer your question. Answer my question. There was an order directed at you to produce these three. So have you complied with the order? You can say yes or no, and if you say no, then you explain why you've not. You, please, get out of that place. My Lord, this gentleman, the short gentleman, is giving the tall gentleman answers.
My Lord, I was standing next to him, and nothing of that sort has happened.
You know, they've taken us through a charade. We will not be party to this nonsense.
It's not nonsense. Is that
my Lord, my Lord.
My Lord, I request that these people move away from the witness. Miller can remain, but these individuals can move away from the witness.
Yes, I do, my Lord.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll be brief. I want to ask the last question. Mr. Masangeli, look at the court, listen to my question and give the answer. There was an order directed at you to produce these three in court. You're aware of that order?
I'm aware, my Lord.
Have you produced these three in court?
I've not, my Lord, because...
It's okay. You have not produced them in court?
Yes, my Lord.
Why?
I don't have them, my Lord. And they are not within the police cells, my Lord.
Okay. But that's a sufficient answer. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert Masangeli. That's all for me, Lord.
What is wrong with you? You've used 13 minutes.
Let's get to the questions. I have very few questions as usual, my Lord. Yes, on record for the petitioner. Good afternoon, Mr. Masangeli.
Good afternoon, my Lord.
I have very few questions for you. When you took office, did you say to protect the rule of law?
Yes, my Lord.
Do you think you're above the law?
No. No, my Lord.
Do you think your conduct allows you to continue holding public office, Mr. Masangeli?
Yes, my Lord.
The conduct of not obeying the rule of law allows you to hold office.
Here I am, my Lord. I have obeyed.
That is it from me. Silence, please.
Two questions.
Well, we apologize for that technical glitch, but it was the court proceedings against the Deputy Inspector General of Police, that is none other than Gilbert Masangeli. He was asked to explain why he did not appear before the court several times after he was being summoned. It was into relation of the disappearance of three individuals from Kitengela. I do understand that we have been able to capture the signal once more. Let's head over and listen to the proceedings.
An acting inspector general, a former acting inspector general,
and currently a deputy inspector general.
My Lord, that is subject to investigation. As police officers, you will have to go further and investigate. Also have a...
My question is very rhetorical.
Yes, responding.
You look at the coincidence between...
We apologize once more, but the proceedings are still ongoing. It is DIG Masengeli appearing before Justice Lawrence Mugambi. Of course, the court made a ruling that he should, of course, answer where he has been for the several times he was summoned before the court. It was in relation to producing 3 individuals who were allegedly abducted in Kitengela a month ago. And if you're aware, the news is the 2 of the Kitengela brothers who were among the 3 people who were abducted, of course, re-emerged this morning, and the pair was discovered in Gashie on a Thursday night. Further on, the DIG boss was able to apologize before the court and, of course, asked for the court's leniency, given that he was convicted and sentenced to a 6-month-long sentence. And, of course, let's head over back there. I do understand we have been able to recapture the link once more. Let's listen to the answers given by the DIG, that is Mr. Masengeli.
If whatever you have sworn and presented to the court is true, why are you apologizing for doing the right thing?
Because, my lord, I was supposed to be here in person.
You're supposed to be here in person.
And here I am, my lord.
Your apologies to you being here in person, not to your conduct of disobedience. It's a straightforward question.
My apology is to pray that the Lord of this court accepts the apology that I have just made.
Well, unfortunately, it seems we have a technical glitch there. And, of course, our reporter, that is Ruth Wamboi, is currently listening to this session. What has emerged? 3 key things there. The DIG has apologized before Justice Lawrence Mugambi, asking for the court's leniency when it comes to the sentence that he was handed down a week ago in terms of a 6-month jail term for contempt of a court. We'll do have more for you in our subsequent bulletins, and will be, of course, giving you the latest in regards to that. This is the first time the acting IG has been able to appear before the courts, and there you can see those are live images. He's currently answering questions that is being asked and posed by none other than the senior counsels who have congregated there. I've seen a number of them. That is the former Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Harvey, among other senior counsels in the House, including the Solicitor General. And before that, we had seen the Attorney General, that is Dorcas Oduor, representing the state in that particular case. And we'll have more for you in our subsequent bulletins, just to inform you on what has truly transpired there. Even the DIG boss, that is Masengeli, clearly stated that he had no notion of where the 3 people were. They were not in police cells. And once they were allegedly abducted on the 19th of August, he had told the OCSs across the country to look for the 3 individuals who were allegedly abducted from Kitengela. As I told you earlier on, the 2 brothers of the Kitengela issue have been able to re-emerge in Gashie. And of course, we'll have more for you in our subsequent bulletins. Now, directly, let's dive into the world of sports, where debutants Kenya Police FC are hoping to pull off a surprise in Cairo tonight against host Zamalek and advance to the group stages of the CAF Confederation Cup. Now, the FKF Premier League side qualified for the second preliminary round after a hard 4-1-0 aggregate win over Ethiopia's Kofi SC. On the other hand, Zamalek secured a 1-0 away victory last week in the first leg match, giving themselves a comfortable advantage heading into the return fixture. The match will be played behind closed doors after the Confederation of the African Football imposed a 4-match ban on the Egyptian side following a pitch invasion during the Confederation Cup second leg final match against RSA Berkane of Morocco in May. Meanwhile, Gor Mahia will face Al Ahly tomorrow in the second leg preliminary round of the CAF Champions League in Cairo, Egypt. Kogalo lost 3-0 in the first leg match played here in the capital last weekend, and held coach Leonard Nevia says they are ready to overturn the results and qualify for the group stages of the competition. Also, the Kenya handball team was narrowly beaten by Morocco 27-25 in their opening match of the 20th Men's Youth Africa Nation Championship in Tunisia. They hope to bounce back today when they face the host in their second match before their final match against Libya tomorrow. Meanwhile, the draw for the 26th Women's Handball Cup of Nations has been done and will see Kenya start their quest in Group A, where they will meet Congo, Senegal, Egypt, Algeria and Cape Verde. Pool B has Angola, Democratic Republic of Congo, Tunisia, Guinea, Cameroon and Uganda. The Cup of Nations will take place from the 27th of November to the 7th of December in Kinshasa. And of course, that concludes our coverage this afternoon. But do stay tuned. Any moment from now, we'll be taking you back to the corridors of justice, given that DIG Masengeli case is still on. He was told earlier to expound why he did not appear before the courts. And right now, he's being cross-examined by the senior counsel who have congregated there, of course, asking questions on why he defied the court orders and that the court resorted even to hand him a 6-month jail term. That will be following, and of course, our reporter Ruth Wamboi will be informing us in our subsequent bulletins at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. The sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Anne Wangeshi. Good afternoon for now and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
To progress in society and rise in rank and file, you got to work double.
Gaps continue to persist, hindering the realization of full disability inclusion, particularly here in Africa.
Disability is not a limitation, but rather a reflection of diversity. Let's continue to work together to build an inclusive society where everyone has equal opportunities to thrive.
Differently able.
Oh my goodness, I just love you for free. I'm not the girl who lies. Mick is gone.
Kuna kitu Alice ameniambia.
Alice.
Too much pressure, madam. Hata sijui nifanye nini.
What is this?
Read it.
We're not losing this, Dad.
Ruth is here and she's breathing fire.
JJ is suing Kaikara and I'm not in the picture.
If you're here to threaten me, don't bother. It will not work.
Umri wangu hauniruhusu kucheza mchezo ya kishenzi kama hiyo.
You're behaving like a child.
Easy.
When it comes to environmental protection, one of the biggest challenges is how to balance competing interests. All too often, there is a conflict between nature conservation and economic growth. But taking action on climate change can unlock new opportunities if it is done right. So welcome to Eco Africa. I am Sandra Kahumza Twinovideo, right here in Kampala, Uganda.
On today's show, we'll be seeing what doing it right can look like. I'm Chris Alems coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. Good to have you with us. Here's what's coming up. A Ugandan climate activist who takes tree hugging very seriously. Why mixed forests are healthy forest? And reducing the carbon footprint of international shipping. But we'll begin on South Africa's west coast, in a coastal community that plays a key role in the luxury seafood market because it is home to one of the world's most expensive shellfish. But that leaves local fisher people caught between the need to make a living and the need to protect marine life.
In the waters of Doring Bay on South Africa's west coast, divers are on a mission to protect what they call white gold. The world's most highly priced shellfish feasts on kelp and could be mistaken for a mussel. But the perfectly camouflaged abalone is in fact a snail with grazing habits that help to keep the kelp ecosystem in balance. Its population is on the brink of extinction due to poaching and illegal trade with Asia, where it is a lucrative delicacy. In Doring Bay, people are trying to provide alternatives.
And we're having 2 people off the farm currently in Gordons Bay at a diving school training to become commercial divers. And then we will take out another 2 people from the community to do diving for us. And that will also help us to curb the poaching process.
Samuel van Rooyen is the CEO of the Doring Bay Abalone Farm. The company strives to provide a sustainable and legal alternative, growing the snails on land and in the ocean. An abalone snail takes up to 10 years to grow to size before being harvested and dried for export.
So the customer loves if the abalone have a long shape, especially the thickness of the abalone is also playing a role.
The farm is the main employer in the small fishing town, with a permanent workforce of 52 people breeding, growing and preparing the snails for market. The company is 35% community-owned through the Doring Bay Development Trust. The idea is to keep local residents on board with sustainable fishing.
If you steal from your share, at the end of the day, when your share will be declared, will be smaller. And I think people start understanding their business role as a shareholder outside in the community. So they start protecting our sea life now.
The fate of the abalone is closely linked to socio-economic inequalities in South Africa. Here in Hamburg and Cape Town, people have been living off the sea for generations. But the government reductions of quotas to protect the remaining stocks left small-scale fishers with close to nothing. Fishers like Warren and his colleagues continued going out to catch abalone regardless.
It's dangerous, but what can we do? We risk our lives just to feed our families.
A good day I can get maybe 2,000 rand, and the diver get maybe 40 or 50,000.
Yeah, I have thought about quitting multiple times. I've considered. The only thing that's keeping me is that I don't have a solid income.
Yeah, we don't break in, we don't hurt no one. We just take what we think is going to sustain us.
The poachers earn just a tiny share of the illegal trade. But over the past 17 years, the total value of illegally harvested abalone from South Africa was estimated to be $890 million. Regular law enforcement has not managed to stop a trade that's become increasingly violent and corrupt. Kimon de Greef is a journalist and researcher who says abalone poaching has reached an all-time high.
That obviously has some ecological impacts. Generally, they aren't super well understood because the decline happened so rapidly and the ecological functioning of abalone wasn't something that had been sort of closely monitored before. marine biologists in South Africa would have been focusing on other fisheries or other ecosystem dynamics.
Moreover, other factors such as climate change have impacted the kelp ecosystem, making it hard to pinpoint the effects of the declining abalone populations. Sustainable farming is one way out of the crisis, but so far it is not competing with the booming illegal market. Customers in Asia pay up to 2,000 Hong Kong dollars, more than 200 euros, for one single abalone. So you won't find many local restaurants here with abalone on the menu. Among the precious few is Fine in Cape Town.
We get our abalone from Lambert's Bay, further up the west coast. Yeah, all their farming practices and everything are completely sustainable. We can get them in live in the shell. We can use the liver and the entrails and everything. So there's zero wastage. We're going to bake the abalone in kelp. The natural glutamates bring out the umami flavor from the abalone. There's a lot of negativeness attached to it, and I think it's our sort of job to educate the general public and our guests as to the more sustainable farming practices that we do have. How are you enjoying the abalone?
Really
Thank you.
expect that. Back on the Doring Bay abalone farm, we meet Ashley, who provides a glimpse into how important this sustainable solution can be.
I have passion for my job. I love what I'm doing. It changed my life in a lot of ways. You have friends show you wrong things and so on. When I get this job, I start to separate myself from them, and now I'm a lone worker. I'm a family man. Take care of my family, take care of my kids.
Hopes are high that the abalone farm will grow and reinvest in the community.
If it can develop, I think it would help create jobs for more people in the community, and so we can live, we can go further.
And the prospect of fishing communities having more secure livelihoods should also bring dividends for the abalone population.
Have you ever hugged a tree? Research shows that it has many health benefits for us. It helps us relax, improves our mood, and lowers our heart rate and blood pressure. And most importantly, it connects us with nature.
That is right, Chris. And this is why an activist right here in Uganda realized that it is a great way to raise awareness of how trees also contribute to the health of the environment.
Patricia Ariokot had spent 15 hours hugging this tree when disaster struck. Hard. A lightning strike and power cut ended her world record attempt. But the Ugandan activist didn't give up. In January 2024, Patricia hugged this tree for more than 16 hours straight and is now officially registered in the Guinness Book of World Records. What looks like a fun stunt has a serious background though, and Patricia wants to draw attention to it.
The problem of climate change is huge, and at least now the world is just waking up to it. It's about time that we pick up the pace and plant these trees, because our natural forests are gone. We are using up the trees and not minding to replace them.
A statement that is particularly true for Uganda, which has one of the worst deforestation rates in the world. According to the online tracking portal Global Forest Watch, the country has lost more than 1 million hectares of tree cover between 2001 and 2022. For Patricia, this loss needs to be addressed. She says trees are key to facing our climate challenges.
Trees have very, very enormous advantages. At this very moment, I'm breathing in the freshest oxygen, probably in the world, because I'm getting it direct from a tree, and at the same time, it's taking in my carbon dioxide.
Just talking about trees is not enough for Patricia. She wants to help bring them back where they were lost in Uganda. For this, she needs the help of upcoming generations and a good idea to get their attention. In this case, it's wooden pencils filled with tree seeds. With these plantable pencils in her luggage, the activist regularly makes community outreaches, mainly in schools in eastern Uganda. So today, tree education is on the timetable for this class.
It's very important that they understand the journey they're about to take on, which is tree planting. And I want them to start the process from a seed. So this particular pencil, for it has seeds inside. And they're using it to study, but at the end of the day, it's going to translate into a tree. A tree was cut, and a tree is going to be planted. That is what I want them to basically understand from this. So you use your pencil.
The activist hopes she can help students to value trees more.
You said, and when you talk of planting, don't just put there in the soil, then for you go. You're supposed to water.
In this school, Patricia's tree and planting education was well received.
It has come at the right time when our region and the country at large is in need of mitigating climate change. For we all know how much our communities are destroying the trees, hence causing drastic climate change. So it is really in good time.
It takes decades until a seed has reached the size of these trees. All the more reason, says Patricia, to begin embracing them sooner rather than later.
My satisfaction would be that people see trees as things that we should love, that we should protect, and eventually plant. So you seeing me do this, maybe it could take something in your mind as well, you know, that trees could be precious things that we can live very, very well with.
Trees are also the topic of our next report. The future of forests is a concern in France too. Higher temperatures and irregular rainfall are growing problems, and experts say they will only get worse in the coming decades. But the authorities think that they might have found a simple way to help build forest resilience. And here is how it works.
The oak tree on the right has hardly any leaves left and will soon die, while the one on the left is doing well, for the time being. Not a good sign. Here in the Molière Massif, foresters are trying out a strategy to cope with the effects of climate change. This is what's called a mosaic forest, made up of all sorts of different trees, including birches, oaks, and Turkish pines.
The mosaic forest is first and foremost a legacy of several silvicultural methods. We've seen regular high forest, irregular high forest, islands of old wood, islands of senescence, and restored habitats. And it's also an alternation of landscapes and a mix of species. That's what we need to remember about the mosaic forest. It's a mixture of vegetation strata that boosts the resilience of the forests of today and, above all, of tomorrow.
On 4,200 hectares of land, the French forestry agency, the Office National des Forêts, is trying out solutions to climate change. They're basing their experiments on a predicted temperature increase of 4 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. Climate stress is like a silent storm, the experts say, causing as much damage as forest fires, and it's one that isn't stopping. They're diversifying the forest with conifers, deciduous trees, and southern tree species. They've planted sessile oaks, for example, which originated in southern France under mature oaks. This protects the small oaks in very hot, dry summers. The foresters use a net to collect acorns to be used in their program. They hope that the introduced species will hybridize with native oaks.
The importance of the mosaic forest in relation to climate change is to always have one or more solutions, to avoid deadlock, and to continue to help the forest to adapt. We can see that climate change is happening very fast, and the forest's ability to adapt to the speed of climate change is limited.
d'évolution climatique, elle est limitée.
And that's where the forester's contribution is important, in helping the forest to adapt to climate change more quickly.
L'aide finalement à une adaptation climatique accélérée.
The French foresters are pinning their hopes on a mosaic of tree species instead of a monoculture. It's more difficult to manage, but it's also more resilient to intensifying climate change.
Our next report is about another French initiative, the first hydrogen-powered ship to sail around the globe, a journey that will have taken 7 years in total. It is set to return to France later this summer.
That's right, Sandra. About 80% of global trade is carried by sea, and maritime transport is normally highly carbon intensive. But now the International Maritime Organization is aiming to hit net zero emissions by 2050. So this project has really been making waves.
This catamaran might look futuristic, but it's already sailing the seas today. The Energy Observer is on a mission to show that one day shipping could be environmentally friendly and emissions-free.
You can see all the type of the solar panels. We have 200 square meters of solar panels on board.
There's an urgent need for such a clean solution. From fishing vessels to cruise ships and cargo freighters, international shipping has a huge climate impact, accounting for around 3% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. The industry has made some steps towards sustainability. The first container ship to also run on green methanol made from biogas set off in September 2023. But that still can't hold a candle to this zero-emissions catamaran, which already has more than 60,000 nautical miles under its belt. The Energy Observer boasts 2 high-tech, fully automatic wing sails, which can rotate 360 degrees to capture the most wind, and can even help produce electricity. Below deck, a hydrogen fuel cell can generate power even during unfavorable weather conditions.
This is a fuel cell to convert hydrogen in electricity, to produce electricity to charge our 400 volts batteries.
The Energy Observer 2 is already in the works. A 120-meter-long cargo ship with a capacity of 5,000 metric tons powered by liquid hydrogen. It may seem like a lot of high tech, but the crew of the catamaran hopes their innovations will become standard in the future.
We use hydrogen to charge our batteries and to power and to sail only with the sun, with hydrogen and with the wind. So no diesel on board, nothing, all is clean on this ship.
Did you know more than 50% of people here are involved in agriculture in Africa? Most of them don't have giant fields to work with. They plant their crops in their gardens around their homes. But you need to know how to do it right. An initiative in Ghana teaches people how to cultivate their own tomatoes, onions, and peppers.
A crowd of women is gathering to get some gardening tips. Growing fresh produce isn't hard, and the benefits are enormous.
When they start coming out.
Here in northern Ghana, Alberta Akosa and her team are showing local women how best to create a backyard vegetable garden. The small organization started out as a social media project and soon gathered momentum, attracting a growing number of female followers.
We had seats at our office. We had some small garden tools. So we started advocating, putting on social media that if you want to a backyard garden, just contact us. And it was, honest, I don't know whether to use the word crazy. It was crazy, a crazy week for us.
Within a week, 700 volunteers signed up for the One Household, One Garden program. Many of them were women who had gotten out of the habit of gardening or whose husbands didn't want them working in a garden. But during the pandemic, food prices rose dramatically, and many people decided to go back to growing their own vegetables. It has an impact on the entire community.
Anytime we support women, we realize that there's a multiplication. We've, over the years, supported women farmers, women processors, women marketers, widows who are also into farming, pregnant women, and single mothers. And we realize that it's extended beyond their family to their communities, changing livelihoods and being an inspiration and serving as mentors even within their communities.
Once they complete training, the women are awarded seeds and a pair of rubber boots. They'll be going home to plant tomatoes, onions, and peppers. If their vegetable patches flourish, they'll even have enough produce to sell.
What I've learned here will benefit me a lot. I can make some money with what we've been trained to do. It will also help mothers feed their children after every harvest. This could be very good business for me.
In recent years, food prices have doubled, even at local markets. The coronavirus crisis has caused ongoing supply chain problems. Alberta Acosa is keen to make agriculture a more stable sector. She believes that a lot more locally grown produce could be sold at local markets. Ghana is a fertile country that's rich in resources.
It's quite expensive, and the fact that you are not even seeing anyone from Ghana, all is from Cote d'Ivoire. So, like, you are looking at transportation costs here and all that's going into it.
Now 41, Alberta Acosa heads the organization. She originally wanted to be a journalist. Now she's an activist traveling across the country with her team. In the last 5 years, they've trained up to some 26,000 women.
I was more into consultancy when I started my career. I ended up having a path which made me more fulfilled, and that is traveling across the country, dialoguing, dining with women farmers, with smallholder farmers, and seeing what I can do in my own small way to support.
Agriculture in Ghana is a struggling sector. A growing number of farmers are giving up. The driving principle behind AgriHouse Foundation is that cultivating vegetables should be profitable. The project also promotes healthy eating. It has the support of local governments.
And overall, it also raised the consciousness of people's awareness in seeking to make their environments cleaner by having those gardens. So it is a concept that, for me, is holistic in terms of getting the right nutrition, getting the environment clean, and more importantly, also generating people's interest in practicing agriculture at that level.
Alberta Acosa follows up on her training courses, visiting participants years later to see how they're getting on. The idea is that they plant gardens that are sustainable. They have to last longer than just one season. The experts give tips on how to get the most out of a small space.
I wish that I extend my garden to be able to feed some of my neighbors around, not only my family. Because if I have more, people around me can also benefit from it. So that's what I'm hoping for.
The women learn new skills and hopefully start to earn an income too. But not everyone approves.
That's
Alberta Acosa and her team make a point of talking to participants' husbands and the village leaders to convince them that it's in everyone's interest.
Everything that we do, and we want to say we are very positive about this group, and we know that they will implement it. At the end of the day, we want to see them more empowered. We want them to be proud of themselves as women.
Seeing women learn to take pride in their achievements is what drives Acosa. Today, she's just shown over 100 women how to be more self-sufficient. Hopefully, besides their gardens, their self-confidence will blossom and flourish too.
What a beautiful sight. That's it for this edition of Eco Africa. Thank you for watching. I am Chris Alems signing off from Lagos, Nigeria.
Bye, Chris. See you next time. And to all our viewers out there, if you have any ideas on how we can all protect our planet, then write and share them with us. We love hearing from you. Until then, check out all our social media accounts. I am Sandra Kahomza Twinovideo, saying goodbye from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
ambaye aliwahi kumjia Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam na kumwomba ruhusa ya kutoswali katika msikiti. Mja yule alikuwa ni kipofu na hakuwa na namna ya kwenda msikitini, lakini Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam alimsisitizia kuswali katika msikiti hata kama itabidi achukuliwe na watu ambao watamsaidia.
Kwa hivyo inatuonyesha kuna umuhimu sana wa Muislamu kusema usiku akimwomba Allah na akiswali akimwomba Allah pia vile vile.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Ya Rabbil alamin ya malikul qudus azizul
ever crazy. Undoubtedly entertaining and mind-boggling. The savage netizens capturing that unique moment.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, for the last 10 or so years, you have heard about the universal health coverage. This is a project by the government to ensure that, all Kenyans, regardless of their financial status, they have access to quality and low-cost healthcare services. I mean, the journey has been tedious, and where we are now, we are at the implementation stage. Guess who is joining us in studio? We have Dr. Timothy Olweni. He's the chair of the Social Health Authority. He's going to take us through the universal health coverage and what SHA is doing to enhance UHC here in Kenya. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Ali, for joining us here. Where are we in terms of implementation of UHC?
Well, UHC, as you know, has got three facets. It's got the aspect about increasing access to quality to healthcare services. Mm-hmm. They have got to be of sufficient quality to be effective. And again, people have got to be able to access those services without experiencing financial hardship. So there's a component of financial risk protection. In fulfillment of its mandate as the government launched this UHC initiative, and the objective is to be able to achieve UHC. So Social Health Authority as a body is supposed to be one of the vehicles that we use for realization of that goal.
Very good. I mean, I know this is a journey that has been, long. We've been talking about ensuring that, all Kenyans have access to high-quality health services, without breaking their bank account. And the journey has been long, and it has seen it has evolved with time up to the point where now we now have the Social Health Authority. Where do you fit in the UHC matrix?
Well, Social Health Authority is supposed to be a financier for healthcare services. Just like its predecessor, NHIF. NHIF was constituted in 1966 and has evolved over time to be able to meet the needs of the different times that it's come through. However, because of the design of NHIF, there are certain inefficiencies which were there in the system, and there are certain needs which it was not able to meet. And that's the reason why it became necessary for us to transform this. For example, there has been an excessive emphasis on curative treatment. So in other words, simply put, it means we wait for people to get sick and then we take care of them. That is not a very cost-effective way of being able to take care of the healthcare needs of a population. So now there's a tendency to try and move that further down and go to preventive and promotive care. That's the reason why we've got a primary healthcare fund which has been formed to be able to take care of primary healthcare needs. It first of all makes sure that people who are healthy are helped to stay well. Those who become unwell go into the curative arm, and those who, for whatever reason, have got health needs that cannot be treated but can be managed, they are taken care of in terms of chronic illness. And those who, unfortunately, their illnesses are not curable for whatever reason, or they have reached the end of their lives, then they're also taken care of. So in this new dispensation, we have got 3 different funds. We've got the primary healthcare fund, which I have to make clear did not exist before. So these are funds which are provided by the Exchequer, and that's an additional component which is not there in the current dispensation under NHIF. In addition to that, there's emergency chronic and critical illness fund. That fund also didn't exist before. The reason why it was constituted is because constitutionally it is a right for everybody to be able to access emergency healthcare services. And those emergency healthcare services were not being funded before, so now we've got a fund that's supposed to take care of that. In addition, we have got people who had exhausted their benefits under the contributors fund, which is the National Health Insurance Fund. The equivalent now is the Social Health Insurance Fund. So if you exhaust those benefits, you're supposed to again be moved on to access additional benefits. So when people talk about why not just keep NHIF, I want it to be clear that we are keeping the NHIF component in the Social Health Insurance Fund, enhancing it, but in addition, we're introducing 2 new funds which didn't exist before.
I mean, the Americans will tell you that if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. What was the problem with National Health Insurance Fund?
The National Health Insurance Fund was working, right? Pretty well. But it had its shortcomings. And everybody who is in this country at the moment knows that it is not providing sufficient financial risk protection. There are still too many people who have to fund the healthcare out of pocket. It is estimated, for example, as of a year or 2 ago, that our total health expenditure was 550 billion Kenya shillings. Of that component, believe it or not, about 150 billion was being funded out of pocket, which means people dig into their savings, people contributing through harambes and so on. That is the component we need to eliminate, because it is not an efficient way to be able to provide healthcare services, because we want healthcare services to be pre-financed. At the point of service, it shouldn't be that you're paying for the care. So you get insurance, pay for your premium in advance, and then access service without financial difficulty at the time when you need to access the service. So that's one of the problems. But again, if you talk about the contribution structure for NHIF, NHIF was designed originally to be a contributors fund for those in formal employment. Over time, we have tried to include those in not informal employment. That is the largest percentage of the people whom we have got under the National Health Insurance Fund. However, the contribution that they were giving was a flat rate of 500 shillings, which was inequitable because it was regardless of your ability to pay. And then again, there was erratic contributions because people only contributed when they assumed they were going to need to access the fund. And therefore, that is not equitable because you cannot have a sustainable fund in that. And that's why a lot of the financial challenges that were there within NHIF go back to this contribution structure. And that's why in the new dispensation, this has tried to be fixed so that we have got everybody in formal employment contributing a certain percentage of their income. But in addition to that, we have got those who are not in formal employment, or those whose income is not from salaried employment, contributing to the extent that they should. Because in the past, what we had was everybody was paying 500 shillings. Whether you earned 1 billion shillings a month, 1 million shillings a month, or 500 shillings a month, you are required to contribute 500 shillings a month. If you want to see how unfair that is, if you earn 500 shillings a month and your premium is 500 shillings a month, that's 100% of your earnings, which is not even realistic. Okay? Same if you add 5,000 to 10%, whereas the person who was earning 100,000 shillings and above, 100,000 was contributing only 1.7%. So what we're trying to do is level that playing field so that everybody pays their way, and we have a fund in which everybody can be able to contribute to the extent they can, everybody benefits, and then we eliminate the out-of-pocket expenditure.
Look, I mean, in your previous life, you used to be the chairperson of the Kenya Private Hospitals Association.
Correct.
And you used to be very critical of, even how the National Health Insurance Fund was being managed.
Yes.
Even remittances to private hospitals was a big challenge.
Yes.
Now you've been given the mandate of ensuring that the Social Health Authority, implement this agenda of a universal health coverage. How are you going to do this to avoid the mistakes that you used to decry in the past?
A lot of it, if you ask me, has already been taken care of in the design. In the design, like I said, sustainability was a big problem, and that's why the payments could not come through. So we've designed it in such a way that you've got a sustainable scheme where everybody's contributing, and contributing regularly. Secondly, we have got a situation where we have got the care spread across the different funds. Part of the load has been taken care of by the exchequer and government. So government is fulfilling its mandate in terms of being able to provide healthcare as it is in our constitution. So government is disbursing funds. So for example, the funds that the government disburses are supposed to also significantly reduce the aspect of out-of-pocket expenditure. So there are a lot of things that are already taken care of in terms of the design. So it is supposed to be a more sustainable scheme as we go forward. But in addition to that, it's supposed to be a scheme where we can be able, and therefore we can be able to make payments and make remittances. So we promise, we deliver what we promise, and so we keep our promise in terms of sustaining the payments. And that's why I think the healthcare system will become more robust, because with the injection of the capital inflows into the health sector, it is going to provide more employment. It's going to mean that we're going to have more supplies in our facilities. It's going to mean people can be able to access better quality health services and so on. Yes.
Do you want to give us some highlights of that report?
Well, the mandate of the committee was fairly straightforward. One, they were supposed to verify all the assets, and the asset verification has been done countrywide for the entire National Health Insurance Fund. This was done in conjunction with a multidisciplinary team from different arms of government, including National Treasury. We had got people from the Ministry of Health, from NHIF itself, Ministry of Land. So any area where they could be able to co-opt expertise that is required, that was done. So that report is being given in terms of the assets. In terms of the liabilities, again, it's an issue of tabulation. Liabilities, the biggest liabilities we have in terms of number is, of course, with the healthcare providers, because that's our mandate. Unfortunately, the healthcare providers are such a large number in this country that that's a process that cannot be completed, and to even complicate things further, as we try and settle old bills, new ones are being incurred every day, because it's not one of those where we can stop. So it's a continuous process, and it's something that we're going to have to keep monitoring. And as funds come in, the only assurance we have is the Social Health Authority in the new dispensation, and also in terms of the Act, is not even allowed to invest funds. So we've got no interest in holding any funds. Any funds that come are dispersed to providers as and when they come. So that is an ongoing process. In addition to that, there's also, in terms of employee transition, there's going to be an advisory in terms of how to transit employees. The Act says that all NHIF staff will have to apply for positions with the Social Health Authority. So once we have got our organizational structure approved, and we've got all our human resource instruments, then we can be able to recruit competitively. It will be open, but priority will still be given to NHIF staff, because the assumption is, and this is actually true, they are the ones with the requisite expertise, because they've been in this healthcare financing space for the longest time. So they have to get priority, and we cannot take lightly. Nobody's going to lose a job, and that is the objective. Even those who are not absorbed are going to end up being either transited into other arms of public service, or those who opt to retire will have their benefits done in the normal manner.
How many employees do you have?
We have 1,745 or so.
1,745?
Yes, at the National Health Insurance Fund.
At the National Health Insurance Fund?
Yes. Those who are in post at the moment, yes.
Wow. And all of them, as the Act says, they have to reapply for their positions.
Correct.
And for those who do not qualify, you're saying they have to be absorbed.
In fact, the term is not to say reapply for their positions. They will apply for positions within the Social Health Authority. It might not even necessarily be the same position. they've got the option to apply for the CEO's job if you feel you're qualified for it, isn't it?
But you can also reapply for your position that you are holding.
A position similar to what you were holding previously, because like I said, this is a new establishment structure. So it's like you leaving one job and going to another. You can apply for a position similar to the one you're holding. If you say reapply for the position, it implies that it's the same organization. It is not. The National Health Insurance Fund and the Social Health Authority are different,
two different
bodies.
entities.
Yes. Despite the functions being the same, they are different. Its mandate is a little wider, so there are a lot of things that are different.
How are the workers dealing with that?
It's not easy. You know, any time that you feel your job is in jeopardy or at risk, it causes anxiety. And that is natural, all right?
Then how are you dealing with that?
It is not easy because you have got to keep giving reassurance, you have got to provide the support. And this is at a time when, of course, also economically, we are having a lot of financial difficulty in this country. And you know, with every single job that is potentially in jeopardy, you have got a lot of people. There's a spouse, there's a family, there's an extended family who depend on this. So it's not a matter that we're going to take lightly. It has to be done. It's a process that has to be done fairly. It is a process where we have also got to get the best people for the job, because for us to succeed as a Social Health Authority, we've got the best people for the job. Again, in terms of management and administration, we're going to be a heavily digitized organization. That's the plan. So, of course, we are going to be more technology driven, and that is also something that is useful because it means it makes us more efficient. And we have to be more lean because we want most of the resources that we get to go towards healthcare needs of the population as opposed to administrative costs. So we have to be lean and efficient. So you have got to balance all these objectives. We're trying to do a certain thing, we're trying to do it better, but again, you've got to look at that human component, because the human component you can never downplay it, because behind every job that is there at NHIF now, there are real people, there are real families who are depending on it.
Yeah.
So I'll be the last person who will say that we're going to take it lightly and we're just going to say we're going to get rid of people. It has been guaranteed, even in the Act, nobody's going to be fired, so to speak. It's a question of whether you're going to be within the Social Health Authority, or you're going to be in a different arm of government, or you're going to opt to exit on your own. And in terms of your benefits, that is clearly regulated within our systems.
Well, the Act is very clear that no one is going to be fired.
Yes.
The Act is not also clear that everyone is going to be absorbed.
Yes, that is true.
And so, in the process, there are people who are likely to lose their positions.
I want to get it clearly. The entire complement of people, save for those who have got, for example, some serious disciplinary issues, all right? Or people whose qualifications are not legitimate. And there are a few of those. I'm sure there are. It's a process that is going on. But save for that, if somebody has been working at the National Health Insurance Fund, if they are not absorbed, if they are not fit for purpose, or if possibly we take less than we have at the NHIF because of this aspect of efficiency, then they will go to other arms of public service, and there's going to be some of those who might opt to retire, and that is the choice that they have. But there's nobody who is going to lose a job, so to speak. If somebody exits from the job, it will be all on a voluntary basis.
There has been allegations in the past that NHIF, has a bloated workforce. And there has been calls in the past that it is high time that the services of NHIF, now SHA, is handled technologically. So there will be a lot of technological optimization in the way you deal with your services or the services that you offer. So there will be a lot of technological adoption within it. And we know that, when technology is involved, there must be some casualties along the process. And so these are the people that you're saying that are likely to be absorbed in other government institutions. Is that confirmed?
First of all, my understanding is the objective of digitization or digital transformation is not to make people lose jobs.
It's to improve efficiency.
It is to enhance efficiency. To enhance efficiency, and more importantly for me, for more accountability, to be able to reduce fraud and so on. If anybody loses a job, it is a byproduct or a side effect of that. That is number one. Secondly, I've always been of the opinion that technology cannot replace humans. But humans who don't embrace technology will be replaced.
Human beings who fail to embrace technology
will be replaced, right? So I want people to be clear on that objective. So the objective here, I don't want people to view it like, we are bringing up technology so that people can lose jobs. No. We want it to be efficient. We have actually not determined in terms of mapping and process mapping. That is some of the processes that are going through now, because we are saying this is the old process, this is the new one, let us map it, what has been digitized, are there any jobs that are lost as a consequence? That is how we come up with our new structure in terms of the establishment structure and say this is the number we need. Now, anybody above that, then we have to say, where do they go? The law says they go into other arms of public service. So that is the option that they have. It might very well be that you've got somebody who feels, I've worked here long enough, you know what, it's time for me to do something else. I don't feel like going to public service. Or might even say, I don't even need to go into this social health authority arrangement. I feel like I need to rest. That is an option that they have, and that is an option they had, if you ask me, regardless of whether we're transforming this to the social health authority or not.
Look, I mean, you're talking about an institution that has a workforce of about 1,745.
Yes.
And 45.
Around that.
When you look at SHA, are you likely to have that huge number of workforce?
No, we're not going to have a workforce that huge. The question is how much less.
That's the question.
And that's why I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. That's where we have got our HR instruments. You know, we've got a whole team of professionals from different arms of government. It was not done by Social Health Authority alone. It was done in conjunction with the NHIF staff, with the Public Service Commission, people from SRC. So there's a whole team from the State Corporations Advisory Commission and so on. There's a whole team of professionals who worked on it. And they're the ones who come up with the HR instruments. But there's a process of approval. It's being looked at the Public Service Commission again. They will look at it and say, you know what, based on what these guys recommended, we think you need to adjust it this way. When that number comes out, then is when now we come back.
As the chair of SHA,
yes,
what number are you looking at of workforce?
I've told you it's not for me to determine. For me as an end user, all I say is this is what I need done. And then they tell me this is the number of people that you need, bare minimum, to be able to get this done. Or I don't want to have a bloated workforce. You're going to have the number that you need, so you optimize it. So there are professionals working on it. That number will become apparent very soon when we start recruiting, and it'll be public knowledge and even the staff will know. But it would be premature at this stage for me to say this is the number of people we're going to take, because it is not going to be accurate.
When do you plan to start the recruitment process?
The moment our HR instruments are approved, and we're looking at possibly in the next few weeks.
In the next few weeks?
Yes.
Possibly so it has to be within maybe next month or something?
Yes, it has to be, because you know also the NHIF's mandate expires on the 21st of November this year.
And so 22nd of December, November.
Yeah, ideally. But of course, you know, processes never work, and especially if you're starting a new state corporation, doing something this huge, there are always going to be delays. But if you ask me, between doing something on time and doing it right, if I could have both, I'll take both. But if it's I've had to choose between doing something right and doing it on time, I'll take doing it right.
You know, as a chairman, having the Social Health Authority is one thing. Recruiting a new workforce is also another thing. But ensuring that the public, they get the services that they need, you know, is also another thing altogether. Are you also going to vet all the health service providers that you have to ensure that you re-register them or something like that?
You see, we have to be clear about jurisdictional conflict, because our mandate is not to register health facilities. In fact, I keep saying we're in a very precarious position, because we promise people a service. When we get a premium from them as a social health authority, we promise them a service which we actually can't deliver ourselves.
But it's your business to empanel.
Yes, we rely on partners. So there's certain processes. First of all, registration, accreditation is the mandate of the bodies that are, and it's primarily in Kenya, the Kenya Medical Practitioner and Dentist Council. They license facilities, they register them. So what we want is a list from them and say, these are the healthcare providers. By and large, these are going to be the same providers that they've been providing service for NHIF. Then we will empanel them automatically. Empanelment means you have got the right to play. All right? Then at that point, for us, it is going to be contracting. So we're telling you we need these services from you for our members. This is the amount we're willing to pay for it. Do we have a deal? Then that we get contracted. So that's going to be the only role that we perform. But in terms of seeing that the healthcare facilities are registered and licensed, that's not within our mandate. So we're going to use the relevant bodies to be able to give us that information. Same for healthcare professionals who are allowed to practice in those bodies and so on. So that's not within our mandate. However, we're an interested party because we want our members to get quality services at the end of the day.
Are you looking at a situation whereby you're going to re-empanel all your service providers?
Like I said, it's a new organization, so everybody has to.
Everybody has to.
Yes. And that's the process. That's some of the process we're going through between now and the 1st of October. It's a new body, so it's going to be a new contract. It's a new everything.
It's a new contract?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, if you're just joining us, we are having this good conversation here with the chairperson of the Social Health Authority. This is Dr. Timothy Olweni, and we are looking at the issues around universal health coverage and, of course, what SHA is doing to ensure that we achieve this goal by the end of this decade. I mean, we have missed in the past. And so the question is what we need to do to accelerate this process. Help us understand this, Dr. Timothy. The 2.75%, deduction for salaried employees. I know there has been many arguments about this, but when you look at the Kenya's, workforce, is this going to be enough to cater for the millions of people who are going to register with you?
2.75% is a number that was worked out after a lot of thought. So ideally, if it is 2.75%, and if we bring everybody on board so the universality becomes reality, then we should be able to realize those projections. However, you must remember that contributory component is only for the Social Health Insurance Fund. These are the two are funded with the Exchequer, and we're in discussions to be able to know to what extent they will be able to fund. Then we'll say these are the benefits we can be able to deliver based on the funds that are available. We are aware of the economic realities of the current moment, and we know, for example, that there's not as much money as we had anticipated originally, but in terms of being fiscally responsible, we have to make sure that the scheme is sustainable. Therefore, we have got to promise what we can actually deliver.
The collapse of the finance bill has led to so many financial realities that we must live with. And President William Ruto has also been at the forefront, urging government institutions to tighten their belts and now live within the new realities. Have you been forced to drop, some of the benefits or anything like that so that you can live within a certain mean?
The truth is we are reworking that benefits package. We are reworking it. All right? We are making some modifications. It might very well be certain benefits which we intended to administer initially might have to be phased. So we start with a lower level of benefits and enhance it as we go along based on utilization and based on availability of funds. It might very well be that some of them might be dropped completely, especially those that are not regarded as essential. But that's a discussion that in the next week or two will become very clear. But one thing that I know for a fact is that any benefit that is currently being administered under the National Health Insurance Fund is going to be maintained.
It's going to be maintained?
Yes.
Tell us something about the Linda Mama.
Yes.
It has been very emotive, especially with the public. Where are we? I mean, I heard the other day, the government say that it has not been dropped. It is going to be reworked. It's going to be rejigged. So what kind of a Linda Mama are we looking at? I know there are also suggestions to change the name. What kind of a concept are we looking at?
If you ask me to simplify it, it's going to be Linda Mama Reloaded. It's just going to be better. But Linda Mama is going to stay, and the benefits that are there, based on the previous observations in terms of shortcomings, for example, in terms of enhancing the number of visits that expectant mothers were entitled to, in terms of taking care of complications that occur around delivery, in terms of taking care of the mother and the baby after delivery, to a certain extent. For example, there's a drug called anti-D, it's an immune globulin, which is fairly expensive. Some mothers required it, wasn't covered before. That's what we're throwing in. So Linda Mama is going to be maintained, it is going to be made better. The providers, on the other hand, are also going to get compensated to a higher extent than they are under the current program. So that's why I'm calling it Linda Mama Reloaded.
Are you likely to retain the name Linda Mama?
If you're to ask me, it is a discussion that, of course, people have had back and forth. I know in the past there's some people who had said Linda Mama the name is going to change. But if you ask me, it's such a strong brand, it elicits a lot of emotion. If you were to ask me, the name should just be maintained.
As we say, if it ain't broken, don't
fix it.
So you're okay with Linda Mama?
I'm okay with the name. Me, what I want is to deliver the service. In fact, for me as chair of Social Health Authority, it's not so much the name. I want to see the benefits. And at the end of the day, by the way, even for the patients, if you called it Linda Mama and didn't offer the same benefits, you'd still be in trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
What they want is those benefits. So for them, they're holding on to the name Linda Mama because it is associated with a certain number of a certain level of benefits. If they realize that now they're even getting those benefits and it's slightly enhanced, all the better.
Linda Mama Reloaded. I mean, sounds very good. We are coming to the end of this conversation, Dr.
Yes.
And I want you to focus or look into that camera, because you'll be addressing the people that you serve.
Yes.
And give them hope that SHA will make health services in this country much better, more professional, and more efficient?
If I was to reassure the public, in closing, I'd like to say we've had certain healthcare challenges within our healthcare problems within our healthcare system, a lot of which the population are alive to, is that we have got a lot of out-of-pocket expenditure. We've got a lot of people who cannot be able to access care. So we have got the health bills that were designed to cure a lot of the challenges that we have. So conceptually, being conceptually sound, it is conceptually sound. Those bills were passed after a lot of thought. It's conceptually sound. Then we move on to the implementation. They were signed into law. We have got a board of the Social Health Authority that was constituted with a lot of thought again in mind. In terms of constitution, we've got representation from the public sector and from the private sector. We have got a lot of professionals. We have got interested stakeholder groups. We have got the Council of Governors is represented, the CEC Caucus is represented, we have got court represented, we have got the informal sector, we have got the Kenya Medical Association, we have got the PS in the Ministry of Health, the PS from Treasury, and so on and so forth. So the constitution of that board, and for the first time, if you were to ask me, we've already got 4-5 doctors within our board, and possibly it's going to increase to 6. You've got a chairman who is a medical doctor for the first time in a long time, and someone, like you say, who was there in the past and understands the problems that are there in this sector. And that's the reason why I'm here. The execution is going to be disciplined. I have said we have got to start this at some point, and the time to start it is now. This is the window of opportunity which we can't let pass. And I've said worst case scenario will end up slightly better than we were before we started. So I want to allay those anxieties, and I think we need to give this opportunity, take this opportunity to try and transform our healthcare system into something that is much better than it was before. Thank you.
I don't want to add anything else. Dr. Ali, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Inside Government, and of course, for your reassuring words. We wish you all the best in the execution of our universal health coverage.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
Okay.
Dr. Timothy Orwen is the chairperson of the Social Health Authority, joining us here on Inside Government to give us an update on where they are. And of course, he has done that. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for your time. You have been watching Inside Government. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Mtazamaji, tumekuandalia taarifa zinazogonga vichwa vya vyombo vya habari kutoka hapa jijini Nairobi na pia mashinani.
Wanahabari zaidi ya ubora wao wako ange kukuletea habari pindi zinapochipuka kutoka pembe zote za Kenya.
Kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini tunakuletea mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja kufafanua na kuangazia masuala yanayokuhusu wewe mtazamaji.
Kumbuka, taarifa yenye thamani daima hupokewa kwa amani.
Hivyo basi usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki.
Tukupakulie na tukutaarifu taarifa yenye mnato kwenye runinga unayoienzi. Kwenye kurunzi mashinani,
sisi DC.
I never heard a music so sweet. I repeat.
Wagwan, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to share down the place with nothing but the best of smooth radio vibes in your favorite station. You know these things, man.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip-hop and R&B jams.
We don't got no label. She said she want bottles.
Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each and every single Friday with me, DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Colda,
and me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
Unanifanya nisikie kunyongwa. Hadija ai, mani especially ukisonga.
see, Ahero irrigation scheme started way back in the 1960s, and then we have expansion areas. Now, these expansion areas are not really part of Ahero because we don't get irrigation facilities like the rest of the scheme, but now it is area that is being expanded so that we are able to grow more rice to reduce the deficit that we have in the country. So we grow rice in those fields. And we really appreciate that because a bit of roads were made, canals were made in those areas, and box culverts and a few check gates were made. The problem that we're having is the rest of the areas have not been reached yet. So we have about 7,000 acres that still needs expansion and work to be done. So we would really appreciate if we could get help in expanding these areas, because currently as we are speaking, like this season, we are totally out of season because of the floods. We don't have check gates, we don't have proper canals, so the area is all flooded. The few farmers who had gone into farming, the rice has been swept away, the seed beds have been swept clean, so we're having lots of challenges. The positive is because that area was quite bushy, so the bushes were cleared. And you see, those lands were lying fallow for a very long time. Right now, we are able to produce rice. And if you look at the 2,500 that is there at Okana, at least a percentage, about 1,000 acres is under cultivation. Assuming that every acre you get maybe a ton or two of rice from it, that means at least there's something. And it has also created job opportunities, especially for the women. We have widows who didn't have work to do, and right now they are able to work in the farms, cultivating rice, weeding, and even as fertilizer application. The youths who used to just sit around and drink lots of changa in the area have also gotten employment. So that is a plus, and we really appreciate that. And other than that, we are also able to put food on our table. So other than selling the rice, we also have rice that remains back at home. And malnutrition has, at least we've done away with malnutrition in children, because now the children are able to get food. And as you know, rice is the number 3 staple food after maize and wheat. So rice plays a really major role. And one good thing about it is it takes a short time. So if emphasis are given to rice and the rice farmers, and these areas are able to be improved, believe you me, will not be importing rice to the country. A few months back, we had a talk with people from Ministry of Agriculture, and we told them all we need is just empowerment, so that these areas, we can be able to cultivate rice in these areas. If given opportunity and if all these things can be done, believe you me, our country would not be importing rice, because what we have is very sweet rice, and we are able to produce rice that can be produced anywhere in the world. We have the chunks of land, and our lands are still very fertile. They've not been overused. And again, we are also encouraging our farmers to do smart agriculture, meaning they're not exhausting the farms. We do crop rotations, so these farms are very fertile and can be able to produce lots and lots of rice. If also the ministry can come in and help us with the bird menace, because at times a good percentage, like right now, we have people who have totally lost their rice. You can get someone leaving 4 acres to the birds because it is too much. If that is taken care of, then I think in Ahero we're going to be able to produce enough rice for the country. We appreciate what the government is doing.